Hey, welcome back to my vlog of shotguns and guitars. I haven't done one in a long time and I'm sorry. But this is the video game episode and we're going to talk about my and my wife's collections over the next few episodes and our video game rig, as you'll see here. I got to keep everything nice and covered. Keep it nice and clean. I got this idea from Metal Jesus Rocks. He has a great show as well. And let's get into it. Well, how I got it all set up, we got a new gamer couch for my wife and I to watch TV and then play games on. Also really good for our, to relax in. Alright, so as you see I got two TVs set up. Yes, I am one of those. I cannot tolerate retro games on high-def televisions. As you see we have an older Vizio. We will upgrade later, but it's great for now. This is actually a coveted Sony Trinitron, and this is what we use for the retro gaming. So the systems we got right now, we got the Xbox One S. This is the most recent addition to our gaming collection here. Of course that's going into the high-def TV. And back in the here we got the VCR DVD combo, which I put all the retro games into so I can record, and it goes out to the retro TV obviously. But here's the neat thing, this has an HDMI out, and I put it out into a switch box, which I'll show later, to go into a sound bar that we got hidden back in there. Underneath that we've got the Retro Trio, because her and I just love all the old systems like this, and this is just great to save the life of our original systems with. So I might go through a couple of these. We'll show that in a bit. Over here on this higher rig we got the Blu-ray player. It's 3D. TV is not. Again, we'll upgrade someday. And over we got the PS4, and we got the Xbox 360, and the PS3. Now we got the transmitter for the wireless headphones. They are the green, and we have the blue afterglows. Now you saw all these neat things we got here. It all goes into an HDMI True Matrix. It's got 6 inputs and it has 2 outputs on there. I don't know if you can see that in the video or not. Lighting isn't the best in here. But what I really love about this is just that it's also remote control. I can pick, this whatever system I want. I can just hit a couple buttons on the remote and it's being broadcasted to the high-def TV. I have a remote for the Trinitron, of course. The True Matrix is also cool because the 2 outs, one obviously going to the TV, the other is going into the sound bar in the back. So all of this can go to the sound bar and through the wireless headphones. So we can play anything and have it brought in surround sound and with the earphones either way. So this was kind of hard to find. I had to find this on eBay, and there weren't very many. And that is that. Now, I mentioned a moment ago my wife and I are gamers, and funny enough, we met in front of a video game. It was Primal Rage, the arcade game, and we met in the arcade, and we kind of had a competition in the beginning. Well, she's right here. She can add her 2 cents in.
Yeah, it was, I had my games that I had on my areas, my bowling alley and my university, and I kept seeing this person knocking down my score with a CAH. And my name back then was Rex, and well, that didn't stand, so I had to keep knocking his name back down, and lo and behold, I finally met who was knocking my score down on my favorite game.
And I didn't know Rex would eventually one day end up being my wife, you see.
Or that even she was a girl.
Oh, it wasn't even a girl, yeah, let alone the wife part. So, anyway, that's how we met, was that game. So as you see, we were just gamers from the start. So, now we get here on our chair. So I guess you want to talk about how we got into it a bit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I started with Atari 2600, And
So did I.
Yeah, and I guess I was just kind of happy with it. My dad was so anti-technology back in the day, tools of the evil and all that. But he grew to love it. He actually became to appreciate them. So my dad became very cool about it.
My story was the opposite. My mother thought computers were great. They were the thing of the future, so she bought me an Atari, and she bought me a ton of games. And these things were expensive back then, even if you convert the currency to modern dollars from the, early 80s. And she thought I didn't appreciate all the stuff that she had bought me. And, well, I didn't like it. I didn't like the graphics or anything. Even back then, I was very young. I was like 5, 6 maybe. And I never played the games. They just sat there, did nothing. And I didn't get back into games again until NES came out in 1985. And by then, oh man, it was like pulling teeth. Please buy me a Nintendo, Mom, please, I promise I'll play it. Which was true, I would. I mean, because the change from the Atari, was it 4 bits up to 8 bits was such a huge breakthrough back then, and I could tell that games had just drastically improved at that point.
Yeah, in my case, I never played the Nintendo. In fact, I never touched a Nintendo until I dated her. I went right from Atari 2600, and having a pretty good library of games, which I don't have present to show, but I jumped right from that to the Sega Genesis. And so that was my leap. I was playing like Yars' Revenge and Defender.
Poor thing's been deprived. I had to show him the wonderful world of Nintendo.
She did. But before that, I was very happy with this. So I went right from like Yars' Revenge to Jurassic Park. And this was my first 16-bit game. Hard as heck.
Excellent choice, but yes, very hard.
Yeah, and we both had this. Her and I had very similar games. Well, she had a different system. But she had, by the time I had
Genesis. I had Genesis. I had the original one. Yours was the newer version.
That's right. So you actually had it before I did.
Mm-hmm. I had the one that came in from the side, or it was ours looked very different.
Yeah, yours was so much more rough. I missed that too. I just remember this demoing in Montgomery Wards. I'm like, wow, I'd love to play this, but it's a whole new system, whole new world. I became a true gamer at that time. So then other systems joined in. I met her. She introduced me to her Nintendo collection. I'm sorry, her Nintendo collection from here up to here. And out of all those, only 2 of them are mine. All the rest of those she already had before I met her.
And I have so few because, again, it was so hard to get my mother to buy me anything. And by the time the 90s came around and I got my first job, I just had to buy my own stuff and quit asking for things.
Right. I never played Contra until she showed me this.
Such a major part of my childhood. It was wonderful.
And she has some nice ones. She has some in beautiful condition.
I took good care of my stuff. I kept everything in its original boxes. And
I have to break the mold for a second. She bought me this awesome Holy Diver game for original Nintendo. It's got a lot of heavy metal references in it. Anyway, go ahead, dude.
Yeah, so, I don't have very many, but I did start eventually buying my own stuff, and then my collection finally started growing on its own. And though I'm mostly focused after the next system that came out for me was Super Nintendo. And I had more games for Super Nintendo than I had for Genesis.
Yeah. I went from Sega Genesis to Sega CD to Super Nintendo.
I had a Sega CD too.
Mm-hmm. And wow, this is in really good condition that you got.
Yeah.
Right here.
Too bad it's not a good game.
Yeah, well, it's a good game. It's not a great game, but in a great box.
Yeah, the cover was very good.
Of course, these are these aftermarket ones we got from eBay. I had never played Mario until I met her. Can you believe that? Never ever played Mario.
Poor thing was so deprived. All those years of Atari and then Genesis. It must have been an awful long wait.
Well, oh, look what she has.
They pulled that from the shelves because it wasn't supposed to be released, so I'm glad I got one of those. And that's the one, everybody had that one.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of the 2 I bought me. Not a great game either, but it's pretty novel. It's complete.
I never owned that one, but I had played it with a friend. We had rented it, and we had a lot of fun, especially on the Pi level.
Right. Yeah, imagine so. Alright, so her and I, as we met, I even bought her some game systems through the years. I actually bought her the Sega Saturn, but we have very almost no games for it. We're willing to build that up. And we both got into the Super Nintendo, so it's been awesome being married to a gamer. Well, dating a gamer, and then end up marrying her.